think where the ball gets dropped a lot, I would almost call it, you can call it onboarding or you can call it client integration.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of, we actually had this issue at SoCal Powerlifting where we always start people off for in-person coaching with 3, 5, or 7 one-on-one accelerator sessions. The goal is we're taking a look at technique, we're teaching them proper mechanics, and we're even taking them through movements they've probably never done before, especially if you're dealing with someone who came from a commercial gym who's interested in powerlifting but has never really pushed it, maybe because they didn't want to get hurt or whatever it is. And so we do these one-on-one sessions that were really high touch, really personalized, and a lot of like a little bit of hand holding.
Yeah.
And then we would go and say, okay, here's the plan, and they kind of go execute. And what I realized was we were failing on the integration standpoint. We weren't doing like those check-ins immediately. Like the goal really here should be, what we don't want is, and I've heard this so many times, so the coach horror story is you market, you sell, and you're just on the sales call, you're crushing it, you're so excited, they're stoked to be a part of your culture, a part of your brand. You bring them on, and then it's kind of like crickets. And then it's like, does this guy even care about me? And then people start talking, and they say, you're just about the sales, you're just about the money, and you don't care, even though you do. Yeah. But it's not like a you problem, it's just something wrong with your process.
Right.
And so one of the things I also really like is setting clear expectations for check-ins, but even having potentially on the front end when a client starts, I think there's really good validity in having actual like higher touch in the beginning. And you can charge more for this. I mean, we can get into pricing and stuff, but like I think there's really good success with like the first 12 weeks of a client working with you. Maybe they pay a little bit more, but it's higher touch, so that they get accustomed to doing things a little bit more on their own, and then they graduate out of that accelerator program, whatever it is, to then go into the normal coaching flow. Because we've all had clients that have been with us for multiple years where, you know, it's not that they're coaching themselves, but they're just doing the program, giving you feedback, and then you're just updating things, and it's just an easy transaction relationship where you're obviously it's not transactional, but it's easier. Yeah. You also have some clients been with you a long time that they're tough to work with. So it just depends. But with the higher touch, you won't lose those clients that aren't as bought in. So if we're talking about coaches that are into barbell sports, we have different types of clients. I'd say one is the person who's like super, super dedicated. They come with their own sets of, let's say, flaws where you have to deal with. But you also have some of those clients, and if you're trying to grow, you're going to get a lot of these where they're kind of in it, but powerlifting, rightfully so, maybe your powerlifting, weightlifting isn't like, if I don't hit this lift, I'm going to quit and jump off a bridge. I have a job, I have a family. You won't lose those people as much that are less bought in and, let's say, don't compete, because you're high touch and educating them and ensuring that they're getting value out of the program. Yeah. The other thing is creating those clear set of expectations. I like in some sort of, not only do I like having like billing agreements, like membership contracts, which I always call agreements, having an expectations agreement. Right. I will respond to your videos in X amount of time. I will check in with you X amount of times. I will support you on meet days in this capacity, whether you're going to be out there or, like in our agreements, there's a cost for that. It's in the agreements, very clear. We charge X amount for if it's within X amount of miles of the gym, if they're in person, or if they're not in person. It's a minimum of X plus like the coach's discretion of then, even if they pay $250 or whatever it is, does travel make sense for that coach financially? Right. If all of those things are discussed in the beginning in your onboarding process, it decreases the amount of failure 100%. I mean, I'm sure you've had personal experience with this as well.
Yeah. No, that's actually really smart I hadn't thought about it like that, where a lot of what it sounds like you're doing in the onboarding is you're getting the standard information. How am I going to build your program? What that does is it sets up the understanding that the coach has your best interests at heart and they listen to what you're asking for. The second thing, it sounds like what you're doing is really building out the foundation of what the relationship's going to be like. There's not going to be a question down the road of like, well, I thought you were going to go to meets, or I thought that you're going to give me video responses every day, if you establish the expectations ahead of time. So you're setting yourself up with onboarding, or it sounds to me like onboarding is really the way to establish the relationship between the coach and athlete before it starts. So you don't end up in a spot where someone is doing something or not doing something that they were expected to do, right? The athlete's not sitting there like, why are we not doing a check-in every 2 days? Or, you know, how come you're charging me to go to a meet or whatever it is? Or, you know, the coach is not sitting there thinking like, you know, whatever, I thought you were going to train 4 days a week, now you want 6, right? That sounds really, really smart to me, like to actually think of onboarding as the the foundation being laid for what the relationship is going to be like for you as a coach and an athlete.
Yeah.